الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Alhamdulillah, after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending peace and blessings upon his beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we want to get right into today's Jumu'ah Khutbah, which is entitled Forgiveness and Its Reality. The inspiration of this khutbah has to do with something that started a year or so ago and ended last week. As I'm sure probably all of you know, that down in Dallas, Texas, a man was killed in his own apartment. See, there was this apartment complex and an off-duty police officer, a woman, went into this man's apartment and killed him, point blank range. Her apartment is right above his apartment. And her claim, her defense was that it was an accident. She thought that she was in her own apartment. She got the floors mixed up. After the incident, there were at least a few witnesses. One woman started videotaping. She was right across from where the incident took place. Her video starts about 60 seconds after the shots rang out. There was another, for lack of better words, ear witness who claimed to hear some arguing, then the shooting. And there were other witnesses. And so naturally people were upset, and then the trial came. And last week, as I'm sure most of you know, she was found guilty, the police woman. And a lot of people were shocked by the guilty verdict. Because, you know, a lot of times these police officers get off scot-free, even sometimes get rewarded for killing innocent people. So this woman was found guilty. And then the next day or so, she was sentenced. And she was sentenced to 10 years. And what a lot of people started talking about is what happened during the sentencing. This case sets precedences in more than one area. From what people who are familiar with the laws and how sentencing works down there, they are saying that she probably won't do more than 5 years. Also during the sentencing, several unusual things happened. The bailiff, or the sheriff, in the courtroom, a woman began stroking the hair of the defendant, the police officer, rubbing her hair. The judge, the bailiff was a black woman, the judge is a black woman. The judge gets off the bench with a Bible and hugs the police officer, hugs the defendant. And so those things, naturally, people talk about. The brother of the one who was killed made a statement. He said, I forgive her. I'm paraphrasing what he said. He said, I forgive her. I love her. I don't even want her to go to jail. And he asked for permission to hug her. And so, with these culmination of events, naturally, because he invoked forgiveness on his part, naturally people in the religious community, Muslim, Christian, and otherwise, began talking about forgiveness. Because some people were outraged, incensed. Some people, you know, there's dialogue on all different sides of this issue. So people started talking about forgiveness. And obviously Muslims, we're not strangers to forgiveness. Our book, our text, the Quran and the Sunnah, and the statements of our scholars and the awliya and the A'immah, the Imams, all have spoken about, defined, and gave examples and the rewards for forgiveness. So inshallah today, in the few minutes that we have, we want to talk a little bit about forgiveness. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa afdalu salat wa atamu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, wa radiyallahu ta'ala an sadat al-tabi'een wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immat al-arbat al-mujtahideen wa muqallidihim ila yawm al-din. Amma ba'd. Alhamdulillah, you know, in Islam, you have a few different concepts that could be translated to, in English, forgiveness. You have maghfirah, which comes from the word ghafara. And maghfirah or ghafara, the original meaning of the word is like to hide or to cover something. You know, this is where we get the term astaghfirullah, meaning I'm seeking Allah's forgiveness. I'm asking Allah to forgive me. Allah is al-Ghafur. Allah is the one who forgives. So we have this concept of forgiveness in Islam. But the meaning, the original meaning of the word that we use to forgive means to cover or to hide. In other words, if Allah forgives us, He covers that sin for us. You also have afu. Afu also means to forgive or to pardon. The difference, especially with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Allah forgives one of His servants, Allah forgives him, meaning He doesn't punish that person for that sin. But that sin still remains on that person's book of deeds. It still remains on their record. When a person is pardoned or receives the attribute of Allah's afu, another word for forgiveness, not only does Allah not punish that person, but that deed, that sin is removed from that person's book of deeds. So it's like he never did the sin in the first place. And there are supplications that our Prophet ﷺ taught us when we ask for Allah's His forgiveness in both manifestations. Alhamdulillah. Another concept you have to understand is tawbah. Tawbah yatubu, like meaning to return to something. When you turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is when, tawbah is when you seek Allah's forgiveness or you return to Allah for a sin that you yourself have done. And a lot of people think tawbah is 2 rak'ahs. Like you may be admonishing someone for doing something, and the brother may say, come on, leave me alone, I done made 2 rak'ahs. 2 rak'ahs has nothing to do with tawbah. Some of our scholars have mentioned the rewards or the fadilah of following up your tawbah with 2 sunnah rak'ahs, but the essence of tawbah is not 2 rak'ahs or not salah. Tawbah has its shurut, its conditions. And scholars have broken them up into different mixtures of what I'm about to say. I'm mentioning 4, but you may read a scholar who may say 3 or 2 or 5 or 6. But when you look at them in essence, they all saying the same thing. One characteristic of tawbah is nadama, or regret. They have regret for the sin that we've done. If we don't regret what we have done, there is no tawbah. I don't care if you make 2 rak'ahs or 10 rak'ahs. If you enjoy or relish, or what they call have a lidla, you have a good taste in your mouth, you savoring a good time you had doing that sin, you don't have no tawbah. So you have to have nadama. You also have to stop doing the sin. So that's number 2. You have to stop doing the sin. Number 3, you have to have intention to never return to the sin. You have to have the intention or the conviction. Listen, I'm not going to ever do that again. Now, you may fall short and fall back on it. That doesn't mean your tawbah was insincere. It just means you have to make tawbah all over again. So that's 3. You have to have regret. You have to stop doing the sin. And you have to make intentions never to go back to the sin. And there's a 4th one. If the sin that you and I have done involves another person, another human being. And that's what is called radu madar, which means undoing acts of injustice. Undoing the oppression. In other words, fixing what you broke. If you stole money from someone, return the money. If you slandered that person, You have to go to everyone you slandered that person to and listen, I was lying. I said this out of jealousy or hate or whatever the situation was. What I said about that person wasn't true. This is the reality. And this is the danger with living in this age. Because we have technology at our fingertips that enables us to communicate with people who we don't even know we communicate with. So we can slander or backbite someone, and that information could reach someone that we don't even know about. How are you going to undo that? That's why it's very important that we make sure we treat each other right. So you have to undo the act, the sin, the transgression, the violation that you did to someone else. And Allah's forgiving you is contingent upon you doing that. Yes, you have to undo that. Allah don't have to accept your tawbah if you violate someone else and you don't make efforts to undo what you did. So we spoke about 2 different types of forgiveness. Well, 3 different types, because sometimes all 3 of these things are translated as forgiveness. Returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I want to call our attention to a few different things. This is why it's always important that we do, as Allah said, فَرُودُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولُهُ. Return the matter back to Allah and His Messenger when we differ on a matter. Because just because we call something a thing, that doesn't mean that that's what it is. Just because we name something, that doesn't mean that that thing is something. Just because we give it that name. Real forgiveness, now we're not talking about Allah, we're talking about someone that violated us. And we've forgiven that person. Real forgiveness, the highest level of forgiveness, is when we forgive someone who has violated us, when we have the ability to seek revenge for that thing. That's real forgiveness. Most of the forgiveness that we talk about is not forgiveness. It's sabr. It's hilm. It's patience and it's forbearance. Because many times people do things to us and we can't do anything back. Like in the situation that motivated this whole conversation. What are you going to do about it? The police officer shot your brother, your sister. What are you going to do about it? I forgive them. Of course, you ain't got no choice but to forgive. You can't do nothing. They protecting him and they riding with him. What you going to do about it? Deal with it patiently. Even though there may be some aspects of forgiveness, maybe in your heart, you know what? I let that go. But real forgiveness is when someone has the ability to get revenge on a person for violating them and they choose not to. Like Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, his own brothers conspired, even pondered the idea of killing him. Think about this. Think about someone that was close to you. Someone that you love. Someone that never did anything wrong to you. And then you find out that that person is openly and actively working to hurt you. That's betrayal. That hurts. Because you love the person. This person is your blood. This person's married to you. This person's a close friend. You didn't expect it coming from them. It hurts. Think of Yusuf. His brothers. Uqtulu Yusuf. Let's kill Yusuf. No. Let's throw him in the well. Let's lie to our father. Say that a wolf ate him. They left him for dead. Not his partners. not his friends, his blood brothers. You know the surah in the Quran. You know the story. Yusuf makes it to Egypt. He goes through testing Egypt because of what his brothers did to him. He's locked up. He's slandered. Allah puts him in a position of power. You know Yusuf detained his brother and kept him from the other 10 brothers. Yusuf had authority in the land. When Yusuf revealed his real authority to them and they admitted what they have done, Yusuf said, "La tathriba alaykum al-yawm." There's no blemish on you this day. That's what he said. Yusuf was in a position to punish his brothers. But he didn't. That's forgiveness. Not even that. On top of that, not only did he forgive them, he said, "I ain't going to mention it no more. Just forget about it." That's real forgiveness. Those same exact words that Allah mentioned in the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that at the conquest of Mecca. There's no blemish on you this day. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is strong now. They stuck up on Mecca. They didn't even have time to prepare. They slandered him. They was directly and indirectly responsible for killing his family and companions. The boycott, the battle of Botham, Uhud. Hamza was killed. Uhud. The Prophet ﷺ could have said, "Well, it's on now. I got you. Where you going to run? Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide." He didn't do that. No blemish on you this day. That's forgiveness. He had power to do something about it, but he really forgave them. And he even honored some of them, like Abu Sufyan and his family, when they entered Islam. After Abu Jahl's death, Abu Sufyan was at the head of the forces and all the plots and plans against him. But he accepted him. Wahshi, who killed Hamza, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ in the Battle of Badr. Hamza's head was his price of freedom. He was a slave. And he wasn't really concerned about all that kind of stuff, or fighting against Islam, whatever. He said, "I'm just trying to be free." They said, they know I know how to throw the javelin. If I kill Hamza, I can go free. Now, conquest of Mecca happens. Wahshi, still not Muslim. Wahshi said, he leaves. He goes to Taif. After the conquest of Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ invades Taif. He goes to the outskirts. What I'm going to do? Muhammad ﷺ is in control of everything. I killed his uncle. I know he's going to get at me. The people told Wahshi, "You don't know, Muhammad don't kill people that embrace Islam. According to Islam, Islam wipes away everything that comes before. He'll excuse you." They took him to Medina. And when he got into the presence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked up and says, "Anta Wahshi? Are you Wahshi?" He said, "Na'am." He said, "Qatalta Hamza, you killed Hamza?" "Yes." "Tell me about it." He said, "The information that has reached you about that affair is true." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him to hide his face from him. And Wahshi said, "Kharajtu, I left." This is in Bukhari, and it's in the book of Sirah. In the books of Sirah. Wahshi said, every time I would come across the Prophet ﷺ, I would go the other way, keep my head down, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Hide your face from me." Washi said that years later, when we went to fight Musaylama, the false prophet, he made intention in his own heart. You know what? I killed the beloved of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to go try to kill Musaylama to atone for that. And he narrates that he was like a marksman. He caught Musaylama. Then another man from the Ansar came and hit him with his sword. And he said, Allah knows best who killed him, either me or the Ansari man. But if I had killed him, I killed one of the most beloved to Allah, and I've also killed one of the most despised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could have punished Wachi. He could have said, you know what? Kill him. This person. He killed Asadullah, the lion of Allah. The Amir al-Shuhada, the leader of the martyrs. Only thing he said was like, you know, I don't really want to see your face. That's forgiveness. He had power to do something about it, but he didn't. Let's not confuse patiently tolerating something and forgiveness. Because if we really forgive someone for what they have done, in our mind, in our heart, he ain't doing no more. It's over with. We cool. But we have this concept, forgive, I ain't going to forget. And sometimes we need to be like that. But don't call it something else. Be honest with yourself. In the case that we mentioned in the beginning, one of the witnesses who testified during the trial, he turns up dead a couple of days after the sentencing. But what a lot of people fail to mention is that he got shot before. This is a person that's not known to be involved in any criminal activity. He randomly gets in an argument with somebody randomly at a club or something. And him and his friend get shot. And he gets shot in the foot. The person who does it gets arrested. But now he's out. I think his friend died. And the person who I'm talking about gets shot in the foot. The murderer and the attempted murderer is out free right now. And then after testifying against this police officer, and everyone says that his testimony was compelling because he broke down in tears crying, and he's bearing witness of what he heard. After the trial, a day, 2-3 days later, he gets killed. So you know what everyone's thinking. Then they pull up some people, they say, oh, it was a drug deal gone bad. See, these people from Louisiana came to buy 12 pounds of weed from him, and the drug deal went bad. The drug deal was happening outside of his house. This is a person who owned a couple of properties that he did Airbnb out of. And everyone know him as an entrepreneur who ain't had no dealings in the street. But now all of a sudden, after, I'm in this high profile trial that everybody around the world is watching. Okay, the trial is over. What should I do now? Let me try to sell 12 pounds of weed right outside my apartment complex, right in the same city. That makes sense. I forgot to leave that detail out there. This is why I mentioned it. Well, we're talking about forgiveness, and we have to be real with what forgiveness really is. And forgiveness is when you truly forgive, you truly pardon that person. That deed is wiped off. As far as you're concerned, that person didn't do it. You forgave it. And the highest true form of forgiveness, and I gave you a few examples, is when you really have the ability to do something about it. That's going to test if you really forgave it or not. You forgave the person. Because we can pretend to be pious. Someone slandering us. This happens all the time. Most of us are getting, somebody's talking negative about us, whether they're backbiting or slandering, whether the negativity is true or it's not true. Someone's talking about us. We find out about it. Now we're in a position or in a situation, now we can talk trash about that person. What you think about so-and-so? That's a foul dude right there. You really don't know nothing foul about him other than the fact that he spoke foul about you. But you used the opportunity to talk trash about that person. You didn't forgive the person. You said, I forgave him. There's water under the bridge. But you still talking trash about him. No, you didn't forgive him. When you forgive the person, you really forgive them. And forgiveness is for your benefit. It's not for their benefit. When you pardon someone, the rewards are for you. That person may not deserve it. That person may not ask for it. But forgiveness is for you. Because the Prophet ﷺ taught us that when we patiently put up with someone who abuses us and we suffer at their hands, and we really forgive them, Allah raises our rank, our level. And He forgives us. And He removes sins from us. So when we forgive someone, and the hadith is narrated by Tirmidhi. So when we forgive someone, we get benefit from it. It's for us. It's not for them. A lot of people, we can have these alien concepts of, I'm forgiving them for them. No, you're forgiving them for you. You don't want it on your heart. You don't want that baggage holding you down. That maghfirah, that forgiveness is for you. You don't know. Allah may still punish that person for what they've done to you. But as far as you're concerned, you forgave them. We living in the days of extreme arrogance. People will do you wrong, know they did you wrong, and won't even ask for an apology. And then get upset at you that you didn't forgive them. Leave that between them and Allah. Either you're going to forgive them or you ain't. But don't lie to yourself. And know that if you forgive, if you really forgive, Allah may have that reward waiting for you. Well, alhamdulillah, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us more than we forgive others. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم حسنا ومن حسنا جبرك إذا وجد لي والإكرام إقامة الصلاة.